Alright, in the previous video, video number 8, we showed you how to do the setup to get to the final value review tab and pick the properties that you want to start your review on. Now we're going to show you the actual screens and how to do the process. You'll notice it tells you what tax year you're working in and what mode you're in, residential or commercial. Then you have a working property list. You notice that we have 138 properties, none of which have been worked yet. And what's included on this list are pending properties. These are properties that have not been worked at all. Flagged properties, properties that have been flagged because they need further review, either due to a possible change or error. Accepted properties, these are properties in which you have decided what the final value is and you have accepted it but not yet posted it. And then the last option is posted values. These are values that have been accepted and actually posted to the final value tab. You can sort this information in a number of ways. Most cases it will be property ID in an ascending order. You do have the option to change that, but it does default to property ID. Then you have your list of your properties displayed 5 at a time, and you notice here you have screens to tab forward to as you advance. Down below you have the calculated value information for that particular property. It gives you the cost value, current and prior, market value, current and prior. In this case we have a little issue that we'll talk about in a moment. And over here it shows the actual final value for that property, what it currently is. That was done on the cost method. And then here's where you'll be making your changes. Now the very first thing that I indicate here is this property shows no market area, no CDU, or no quality. However, it is showing a market value this year and an MRA value. So there's something not correct here. We probably should flag this property for further review, go back and check and see what's going on with it. Here's where we start making our decisions. This particular property, you have an option to accept the values or flag it for further review. So we're going to flag this one. We'll need to save our session at the time. And that property is flagged, and we'll be able to pull it back up later based upon that. I'll also be able to hopefully generate a list that we can go back and look at these properties. So now let's go to the next property, which is a residence. It takes just a moment to load the comps. Okay, now this property has a CDU of 9 and a quality of rank of 3. The cost value is 134. Previously it was 125,470. Market value 137,6. Prior year 146,400. And you got your MRA values, and you'll notice down here that we have an override value. This tells you all our value options. Now we go to the final value section of the screen. Brings our property up. The current value on this property is 120,610, which is the override value. Now before we make our decision, we want to check for some more information. You have a permit section down here where if you have building permits, particularly one that's been issued since the last valuation date, gives you some idea of whether the previous value was legitimate or not. This particular property has no permit, so we don't have any new construction to be concerned with there. We also have the appeal information for this property. This property has been appealed 3 times, 2004, 2003, and in 2001, all at the informal level. We don't know what that change was. We do know it was changed because it was value adjusted, but that information was not preloaded. Next you come down a little bit further and you'll see the transfer information or the sales information, and we have information that this property sold in June of this year for $140,000 and it was a valid sale. So that's going to help us make some decision in terms of which value we're going to choose. This particular county does not have photos available. However, if it did, you'd have a photo of the subject and of the 5 comps chosen here. You can also click here and generate a comp sheet for that property. You'll have to choose the comp sheet format, and there's a comp sheet for you to take a quick look at. That may help you make your decision. Okay, now we've viewed that information. One other thing that we're suggesting to counties to do is that many counties now have dual screens or access to dual screens. We're suggesting, due to the time it takes for these comp sheets to load from this part of the program, you might set up a separate screen and pull up the comp sheet of the property as you work with it, so you'll have the two screens to look at. We'll make a decision on this property, and we've decided that market value is going to be our best option. So what we'll simply do is come into the valuation method, click market, and it changes the current value to market. Change reason is final review. The appraiser is MKT, which is what we set up when we did the initial setup. And then we click accept to accept this value. That property now disappears from the screen and it goes to the very next property. Take a quick look at this property. Very similar again. We have an override value of 35.1. Let's say we're going to, after we've analyzed all the information, we've decided we're going to override the value again. We'll leave override in here. Final review will be the option. The override reason is where you have to make a decision now as to what that was. You can add additional reason codes if you want. Let's just, for example, we will make an adjustment based upon previous year hearing value, for example, just as an example. And then you'll type your override amount in. Now, if override was used before, that amount is still in there. But let's say we want to change this to 36,000. Okay. You accept the value. That property disappears and you go to the next one, and you'll just continue through that process. Another thing I did not show you is that toward the bottom you have a list of sales within the neighborhood that you're working, or within the area that you're working. This particular neighborhood has 15 sales, average sales price of $24,990, minimum sales price of $2,000, and maximum of $140. And then all the sales are listed here. So it gives you a good idea, particularly if you're in a very homogeneous area, of what your sales range should be. That's basically how that system works. You'll need to do a little evaluation as to how you want to go about organizing your final review, but this tab does put a lot of information at your fingertips. And again, we suggest, if you have the capability, use a dual screen and pull your comp sheet up on that second screen. Now, when you're through working this area and you decide, okay, this is final, I'm through working my values, I want to post those values, you post here, and this will post the values to the final value tab.